Hello, welcome to Bits in Biology. My name's Liz, and in this video, I'm going to play through a solo game of Endeavour Deep Sea, followed by my review of the game. In Endeavour Deep Sea, you are leading an independent research institute with the goal of developing sustainable projects and preserving the fragile balance of marine life. Throughout the game, you're going to recruit field experts and use their abilities to explore new locations, investigate dive sites, publish your research, and launch conservation efforts. Player turns in the solo game are pretty much the same as they are in the multiplayer game, so if you're wondering what that looks like, this should give you a pretty good idea, with a few caveats that I mentioned in the review. So let's go down to the table, where I'm pretty much set up for a solo game of Endeavour Deep Sea. Here we are, nearly set up for a solo game of Endeavour Deep Sea. I'm not going to do a full rules teach. There are plenty of great videos out there that do that, both for multiplayer and solo. I am just going to be doing a playthrough followed by my review of the game. I did put a poll up on YouTube to see which of the missions out of the first 4 that I should play for this, and the overwhelming vote was for Mission 2, Maps and Charts. And what this says is an introduction. Only a tiny percentage of the ocean has been mapped. We're going to try to change that today. Dust off that sonar screen and see as much of the deep ocean as you can. And what I will say about that is I did a little bit of research. I didn't actually know that much about ocean mapping, and I still don't know a ton. But I can say that when they say only a tiny percentage of the ocean has been mapped, they are not kidding. It's about 26%. And that 26% is basically made up of lines that crisscross the ocean. I'll try and find a map and put that up. So this game has, I think it's 10 missions, and each of these impact boards are double-sided. Mission 1 is on this side of this board. And like I said, we're going to be playing Mission 2, which tells us which ocean tiles we are going to start with and what our basic goals are. Now, in the solo game and the cooperative game, we also have 3 additional, they call them bonus goals, but I'll elaborate more on that in a moment. We also have these things called setbacks, and trust me, they are usually quite a setback. And we have some journal cards here that we're going to start with. I will shuffle those up and choose 4, or randomly deal 4. And then we have the rest of our journal cards over here. My player pieces over here on the right. And these are the 4 ocean tiles we are going to start with. The Sea Star, Calm Seas, and Remote Anchorage on the surface zone. We do have room for 2 more surface zone tiles over here. We can go up to 5 across. We do start also with 1 tile in the epipelagic zone called the Looking Glass. And how we're going to start is we are going to first put one of our vessels up here in that zone. We immediately gain the arrival bonus, which in this case is an extra disc. You can think of these like activation discs. These are going to be what we use to activate our specialists, or our people that are going to let us do things in the ocean. And they will also be going out on these ocean tiles when we choose particular actions. So that's going to come down here. We also start with one of these discs on our team leader. So we start with 1 specialist, our team leader, and we are going to collect an additional 7 specialists as we go through the game. In the multiplayer game and the cooperative game, there are 6 rounds. You'll collect a specialist at the start of each one. In the solo game, there are 7 rounds, so we get 1 additional round in the solo game. We can go up to 5 tiles deep, so we have our surface zone, epipelagic zone, mesopelagic zone, bathypelagic zone, and abyssopelagic zone. That was quite a mouthful. All right, so we're all set up over here. We start with each of our tracks in the 1 space, and except for our research track starts in the 0 space. We don't start with anything on our impact board. Our basic goals are 1, map the ocean currents, where we want to have at least 7 discs in these 2 columns here. Columns B and C. Our next goal is explore the far reaches, and that's where we have to have at least 10 discs in columns D and E, which don't even actually exist yet. And then finally, our third basic goal is chart the ocean topography. And so if we look at which they don't all exist yet, but the epipelagic zone, the mesopelagic zone, and the bathypelagic zone, in those 3 zones, we want to have at least 8 ocean tiles with at least one of our discs on there. And so like I said, those are our 3 basic goals. We'll have 3 additional bonus goals. We also have another goal that is to earn at least 20 points through a combination of journal cards, our specialists, and those will only be our level 5 specialists, and then points that we earn off the impact board. We earn 2 points for each impact marker we get in an orange space, and 1 point for each impact marker we get in a yellow space. All right, so like I said, we're all set up over here. Now we just need to lay out our initial journal cards, our setbacks, and our bonus goals. At the start of each round, we will draw one of these cards. The first 3 rounds, it will be a bonus goal, and then the remaining 4 rounds, it will be a setback. So we want to shuffle these. And we lay out 4. I'm going to lay them out like this so you can see basically what round we're in. So there's our 4 setback cards. Just up there. And then we'll shuffle up our bonus goals and lay out 3. All right. And then these are our starting journal cards. And they're intended to start the game, and regardless of whether you're playing multiplayer or co-op or solo, you will put out 4 of those. Now I will point out that my player board and my impact board are kind of encroaching into my ocean zone just a little, so depending on how deep I go, I may have to rearrange some of this, but probably not. I am basing this on the fact that I've actually played this mission a few times now to try and get a feel for what strategy might be the best. And so far, I think the way I have it laid out here, we shouldn't run into too many problems. I will tell you that these solo scenarios are quite challenging, which I really like. So what we have to do for the solo mode to win on just the basic beginner level is meet at least 4 of these goals. And so either these 3 basic goals plus this impact board goal, or some combination of those 4 and our 3 bonus goals. So if we earn at least 4, that is the beginner mode. I don't actually ever start with a mode in mind, although I'm quite happy to win on beginner mode. I don't think I've gone past that yet. Intermediate would be any 5 goals. Expert would be any 6 goals, and legendary, which I believe would be quite legendary, is you get all 7 of those goals. So usually I try to focus on 4. So, all right, at the start of each round, we will flip over one of these cards, then we will pick a specialist, and then we will collect some things depending on where we are in each of these tracks. So we're going to flip over our first bonus goal, and we have junior specialist. I actually don't like this goal. And so what we want to do for the 1-player solo game is we need at least 5 junior specialists. At the end of the game, we will have 7, 1 for each round, of specialists from our tray that can be, they start on their junior side, they can be flipped over to their senior side. Our team leader is the same on both sides, so they just stay. They're sort of, if you go by color, already on their senior side. Junior and senior does not, by the way, relate to the junior and more advanced levels of their jobs. They're just actually different jobs on both sides that these folks are doing on your ocean research vessel. So what this means is I want at least 5 of those 7 not flipped over to their senior side, which I don't actually like because the senior side is usually quite a bit better. All right, so I'm going to put these goals over here next to our basic goals. Now I get to pick one of these level 1 specialists. And the way that I know I'm limited to level 1 is if I look up here on my reputation track and I look at these pluses below each of these spaces, The 1+ tells me I can only choose from level 1, 2+ is level 2, and so on. What I'm going to be trying to do is make it up that track as quickly as possible, because as you might guess, as we go from level 1 to level 2 and so on, the abilities of each of these specialists gets quite a bit better. Level 5 is great, and then if we can flip level 5 specialists over to the other side, they usually have points associated with them. All right, so I'm going to choose a level 1 specialist. I do like to travel to get around the board. We're definitely going to need to travel because our different goals all require us to have discs in specific areas of this board, including some way over here where we don't even have our ocean tiles out yet. So I'm going to pick this first, out of this level 1, I'm going to pick the pilot. Now the way that these work is over here on the left. It tells me I get to place an impact marker on the board as my bonus for choosing him or hiring that pilot, I guess you could say. And so I'm actually going to choose to put my impact marker. I can put it on any of these 3 spaces where there is a white arrow pointing to them. And every impact marker I place here after that is going to have to be adjacent to one of the previous impact markers I've played, or on another one of these spaces where the white arrow is going in. I'm going to place it here, which says I will get 2 research. These other 2 spaces would let me move up my markers on my different resource tracks. So I'm going to get 2 research. This is useful because we don't have any yet, but sometimes there are conservation actions you can take out here that will cost you research. And almost always, and in fact, all of these first 4 of our journal cards will cost us research in order to be able to take those. All right, so I'm going to put my pilot over here. Also, we can see on this tile that it allows me to do the travel action 1 time. It has a circle on it where I'm going to be able to put my disc. And also in the bottom gold area here, it tells me what's on the other side for this when I flip this over to its senior side. And it will allow me to get a bonus of moving once up I think this is the innovation track. I'll have to look them up. I'll get those out. And also once up my coordination track. The coordination track is great because it lets me remove discs from my specialists up here. And what I'm calling the innovation track, I can't remember what this is called, is going to let me get additional discs. Down here on my technology track, that is going to determine how deep in the ocean I can go and how many spaces I can travel when I take the travel action. Right now, I am limited to the surface zone, and I can only move 1 space when I take the travel action. All right, so we have flipped over a card. We have chosen a specialist. The next thing we are going to do, it's all outlined here on the side of our board, is I'm going to look here on what I'm calling the innovation track, and I get to take 1 disc from the supply and put it in my staging area. So when I'm using discs, I can only take those from my staging area. I only get discs from the supply at the start of each round, or if there are specific spaces or tiles out here that will award me those. And sometimes there are dive tokens. Oh, that's one thing I haven't done. Whenever you see a big circle like this with a number in it, you're going to choose that many dive tokens. Oops. And so this way we have 4, and we're going to put those there. So we got our 1 disc, and now this tells me I can take 1 disc off of my specialist. So I'm going to take that disc off my team leader, and now I am ready to go to take my first action. So what I'm actually going to do, I said I wanted to move up this specialist tracker. I should probably look these up, what these are called. All right, so the top one is the reputation track. Inspiration, not innovation, inspiration track, and then coordination track. And this one is actually ingenuity track, but it's your technology level is what it's looking at. All right, so I'm going to take a disc, and first I'm going to look over here at my journal cards. Now I do want to move up this reputation track quite quickly, and I can see that one of my journal cards is going to let me do that. I want to be able to pick a level 2 specialists in the next round. So I do actually have 2 research to pay for that. because I got that off of my impact board. So what I'm going to do, my team leader allows me to take any action one time. Once I put a disc there, I won't be able to choose it again until that disc is removed. So I am going to do the journal action. I do have to make sure that the color of the flags over here on the right-hand side of the card match a journal action that I have available to me on a disc or on a tile where I have a vessel, and it does. I need a brown one, and I'm going to use one of my discs and put that on there. And then I will take this journal card. I used spend 2 research to get that. I'm down to 0 now. But what that's going to allow me to do is move 2 times up the reputation track. I'm now at level 2, and then this icon means I get to promote a specialist, so I'm going to promote my pilot right away, and that's going to allow me to move 1 up the inspiration track and 1 up my coordination track, so I'm getting a little bit closer. These are 2 very important tracks as well, because this one will give you more discs to allow you to do more stuff, and this one allows you to take the discs off your specialists so that they are available for actions. All right, this is not worth points, but I might need it later if I get the specialist that gives me points for sets of these. So I'm just going to set this off to the side over there. All right, so next I can take a travel action, and so I'm going to put a disc there. And I can't go to this tile because that is in the epipelagic zone, and because my technology level is only at level 1, I can only stay in the surface zone, and I can only move 1 space. So I'm going to move 1 space over here to calm seas, and I gain the arrival bonus, which is 1 research. And now I have taken all my actions. Round 1 goes super fast. I do replace this right away. It's one thing I'm good at forgetting. And one thing I will point out on these cards, and actually it was on here and you may have been wondering, if you notice I did just the actions up here at the top. This icon here tells me that whoever took that card and paid for it, they get to do those actions. If you're playing a multiplayer game or a co-op game, everybody else gets to do the other action, but not you. So now we are in round 2. I'm going to take a bonus goal. We have, I like these ones. These are usually not too difficult to get. Coordination and ingenuity. For the solo game, I need to earn at least 22 points. Now, it's very difficult to see. I'll probably put a more close-up picture of this up on the screen. But if you look in each of these tracks, we're not looking at the numbers across the top of the board. We are looking inside each of these tracks. There's a very pale number in the top right corner of each space that tells you the number. Now, those are not the points, but that's what this number is referring to. I need a total of 22 when I look at those 2 numbers for my coordination and ingenuity tracks. And so that would be the 2 down here on the bottom. This space that has the impact marker symbol is 10, and then we have 11 and 12. So I need to be at least either 2 11s or a 10 and a 12. And now I choose a specialist. I can choose a level 2 specialist, since I am over here in level 2 for my reputation track. And I think, let's see, I would like to move this inspiration marker up a space. I don't have one that's going to allow me to move my coordination marker. However, this navigator is going to let me move 1 up that inspiration track. So I'm going to take her. She also allows me to do a travel action or a sonar action. Now, when I promote her to her senior side, I don't get a bonus. However, she's going to allow me to do 2 actions, both sonar and the dive action. So we'll put her over there. The next thing I do is I gain 1 disc since no, I get to take that bonus right away. That's why I wanted to take her. So I move 1 up that inspiration track, and now I get to take 2 discs from my supply, put them in my staging area, and now I can only take 1 marker back from my specialists. I like taking the 1 back from my team leader since it lets me do the team leader lets me do any action 1 time. So take that back. I have to leave, unfortunately, my marker here on the skipper. However, my navigator is going to let me choose between a travel action and a sonar action. I'll talk about the sonar actions when I do those. So now we are all ready to start round 2. So let's see. Remember that one of my goals is to have discs on the sonar action in these 2 columns here. The sonar action almost always lets me choose a tile to put out. And the way that works is, for instance, if I were to come here, which I probably am going to do, I would take 2 tiles and I can take them from either level 1, the surface zone, or level 2, the epipelagic zone. I can take it from the epipelagic zone even though I am not at level 2 in my technology. I just can't travel to there yet. Or I could take 1 from the surface zone and 1 from the epipelagic zone. And I think I'm going to do that. Now, I could use the team leader, but since my navigator just has a choice of 2 of the 5 actions, and my team leader lets me do any action, I'm going to come over here and put a disc on my navigator. I think that's what I want to do. Actually, let's see. Ooh, moving. I don't have enough research. I don't know why I'm looking at that. I only have 1 research, so I can't do any of those. So yeah, we will stay there. I was going to say, if you upgrade a specialist, if you flip them over to their senior side, if you have a disc on that specialist, you lose it over to your supply, which is not great unless it's the last round of the game. So we're going to take the sonar action. I need to have a disc to place. Now I can choose between this set of sonar actions or this set. I do have to put my disc on the farthest left space for whichever one I choose. And so I'm actually going to choose this one down here that allows me to place a level 1 or level 2 tile. And since I can only travel to level 1 right now, I think I'm going to choose 2 from the level 1. So I choose 2. I'm going to, from these 2, choose 1 to place, and then the other one goes to the bottom of the stack. So we have, oh great, 2 really happy ones, right? A decommissioned oil rig, which actually, I looked this up. They are used quite a lot in restoration because they provide hard surfaces for animals to colonize. A dying reef, however, not great, largely due to things like global warming, ocean acidification, and pollution. They're specifically coral. They are especially vulnerable to heating of the oceans. It makes the algae that they're symbiotic with jettison themselves out of the coral, and now the coral aren't getting as much food as they might get. The dying reef has as a placement bonus, I can move 1 up the reputation track and take a disc. The decommissioned oil rig has a placement bonus of moving 1 up the coordination track and gaining a research. That's pretty good, actually, because getting that research would let me take one of these 2 journals as long as I have, nope, never mind. I can only get one with a brown symbol on it, and I can't afford that one, so forget about that. So these both have conservation actions on them. This one says that if I think what this means, I'll have to look it up. This is decommissioned oil rig. So we have a little sheet that does clarification. It says when all the conservation sites in this zone are filled, every player with at least 1 disc in the zone, starting from the active player, may promote 1 specialist. Ooh, that's great. I like that one. This one also has a journal action with it and they both have these links, which means if I manage to get a disc on either side of that link, I get the bonus in between it, which can often be quite good. I think I want this one since, is that really the one I want? Oh, this is going to be my last turn of round 2. Yeah, so if I do decommissioned oil rig, it's going to allow me to move 1 up the coordination track, which is going to allow me to take back 2 discs from my specialists. So let's do decommissioned oil rig as my placement bonus. I get to move 1 up my coordination track, and I also do get 1 research, which actually, nope, that puts me up to 2 research. All right, and then this goes to the bottom of the surface zone. Ooh, it's a long reach. All right, so we already have a disc here in our B and C columns. I do have 1 disc left. What do I want to do? I could travel here. I don't have enough research to be able to do that journal action. I don't have an extra disc to be able to do a sonar action, so really the only thing I could do is travel, but I might just do that. It would take me over here, which would allow me to move 1 up my innovation track, or ingenuity track. I want to call everything innovation, apparently. My ingenuity track. And that's not too bad. Gets me closer to over here, and then I could maybe do a sonar action, or I don't have any journals that are blue over here, which is unfortunate, but maybe we'll get a space where we can do that. So let's go over here where we can move 1 up our ingenuity track. We're going to carry over 1 disc. Oh no, we just traveled, so I got to put that on my team leader. All right, so we've used up all of our discs. We could carry them over if we wanted to, and we wouldn't lose them. All right, now we're going into round 3. Ooh dear, we're getting closer to those setbacks. We take a bonus goal. This one says that I want zones with at least 1 either disc or vessel of all players. That's me. And oh wow, 11 zones. Now that includes, and this is, I actually found this confusing at first. So this is called the surface zone, right? Which you would think is the whole thing, but really what it's saying is that that is a surface zone tile. And this is referring to the tiles, right? So that would be a zone. I need at least 11 of those, which means I need to have at least 11 out here. Okay, oops, put that over here. However, we do already have 2, so that's great. So now I've taken my bonus card, and now I get to choose a specialist. Unfortunately, I'm still at level 2. I don't think I want another navigator, although I could take another navigator. Now, this one's pretty good, the marine engineer. They allow me to move 2 up the ingenuity track, which would allow me to put out another vessel and allow me to dive a little deeper. And so I think I want to do that. Unfortunately, she doesn't give me any actions, although when I promote her, she doesn't give me any bonuses. However, I would get either a travel or a journal action, and that's pretty good. So let's take her, and we move 2 up the ingenuity track. That allows me to place a vessel. It always goes to my starting tile up here, and I get a disc as my arrival bonus, even when it is triggered by place a bonus for hiring that specialist. All right, so we've hired our specialist. Now we get our discs. We get 2 of them. It's good to try and get a lot of discs early on. And now we can take 2. We're at level 2 for a coordination track. We can take back 2 discs from our specialist. I am going to do my team leader. And then my skipper now allows me to do travel, but my navigator can do travel or sonar, so I think I'm going to take a disc off of her. And now we are ready to start round 3. Now I have 2 vessels out there. I think I want to place another ocean tile. Diving is pretty good too because it allows you to turn over one of these tokens, which will always have at least 3 research on them and often has another action that you can do sort of for free. You don't have to use a specialist, but depending on like if it's a sonar or a journal action or conservation action, you would still have to put out a disc. We do have a yellow journal action available to us. However, keeping in mind that one of my goals is to get discs at the levels, the epipelagic zone, the mesopelagic zone, or the bathypelagic zone. So I kind of don't want to put a ton of discs up here in the surface zone unless they're contributing to other goals, which would be not that first column, except for this synergistic goal over here. But that requires quite a lot. And we do already have 1 disc over there. So I think what I am going to do is the sonar action, and I'm going to do it here. Remember, I have to go all the way to the left. So I can take an epipelagic zone or a surface zone, place an epipelagic zone or a surface zone. And so I think I want to place an epipelagic zone either here or here. So let's take 2 of these. And we have, let's see, ledge elevator, talk more about that in a minute, and sunken ruins. So I looked up ledge elevator, and actually if you Google, I didn't try another search engine, so maybe that was my problem, but I looked up ledge elevator. Now, the picture gives you a good idea of what that is, and it's this platform that then allows you to go deeper in an elevator, I guess. However, I could not find that specific phrase when I did my search, and there's different kinds of elevators. And so there are this looked really cool actually. In Germany, there is an underwater gondola elevator that takes tourists underground. That is not what this is, I'm guessing, because that one starts above the water and we are now in the epipelagic zone. The elevators that I was able to find that have something to do with ocean research, that you actually lower them down into the ocean bottom, not necessarily in the abyssal zone, like wherever the bottom is where you're at. This looks like maybe a continental shelf or something. Oh, no, actually it does look like a ledge. Anyway, you lower it down and then you can collect various things from there and then you bring it back up. So I'm not exactly sure what this ledge elevator is trying to depict, but some sort of a research base maybe. And then we have our sunken ruins. You can imagine what that is. That would be really cool to scuba dive and figure out. This tells me that if I have, I think at least have taken or taken all. I guess we should clarify this one. Let's see, we have sunken ruins. When the dive site in this zone is empty, every player with at least one vessel in this zone may take one travel action away from the zone. That's pretty good. I mean, it's a one-time thing. They both have sonar actions. This one you always have to start at the left. So sometimes this would be good and sometimes that's not exactly what you want. I usually like to take tiles when I do a sonar action. However, this also has a journal action. They both will have dive tokens on them. This one has a placement bonus of moving one up the reputation track and one up the coordination track, which that's great. I'm trying to get at least to level 3 for this next round. This one also lets me move up the reputation track and then also lets me move one up the technology track or the ingenuity track. Which would be great because then that gets me to level 3, which lets me move 3 spaces, even though I'm not down to the mesopelagic zone here. This one, however, my arrival bonus is getting an extra disc, and I love those. So I think I'm actually going to place this one. I'm going to place it in column C because I really want to place discs on sonar actions here. So this goes at the bottom. And the reason I put it in C and not B, there are a limited number of setback cards, right? So 6 altogether. One of those setback cards makes you move all of your vessels 2 spaces to the left, unless you're in a space where you can't move to the left, in which case you're stuck because you can't move through open spaces like that. So just in case we get that soon, I like not having anything here until we've gotten that setback card. We might not get it. It might be one of the 2 that got discarded. We don't know. All right, so I did the sonar action. Oh, and I get my arrival bonus. So 1 up the ingenuity track. That's fantastic. And then 1 up the reputation track. Also fantastic. And I have to put out 4 dive tokens. So 3 and 4. And now I can use my team leader to take any action, or I can use my navigator. Oh, I didn't put out my disc for the sonar action. I often notice that right after I have taken the action, so I'll make a note of that in editing. So now I just have my team leader left because remember my marine engineer doesn't have a circle to be able to do an action. So let's see. Oh, if I move over here to the decommissioned oil rig, it has an arrival bonus of moving 1 up the reputation track, which will get me to level 3. So let's do a travel action and come over here and move 1 up our reputation track. And that's all I can do because those are all the action spaces I have. Later in the game, I might have a journal card that allows me to do something, or I might have a dive token that allows me to do something, but we don't have that right now. So we are done with round 3. Now we draw our first setback card. Let's see what we get. Oh, see, this is, oh, and I'm not down here. Oh no, all players move all of their vessels 2 zones left. As far as they can go, players do not get the arrival bonus for moving. So this one's as far to the left as it can go, so that doesn't matter. This one, this vessel moves all the way back here. I don't get the arrival bonus. That's unfortunate. I kind of liked being over here, so oh well. Put that right there. Now we get to choose a specialist from level 3. So I have a choice of an R.O.V operator, a marine biologist, and a, what is that, field? These are so hard to read sometimes. A little bit dark. Field researcher. All right, so field researcher, no bonus for hiring him, but I get to do sonar and a journal action. The marine biologist lets me move 2 up the inspiration track, and I can do either a conservation action or a journal action. And the R.O.V operator lets me do a travel action and a dive action. I really like that. No bonus for hiring, but when I flip it over to its senior side, I do get to move 2 times up that reputation track, which I've really been trying to zoom up. So I'll probably take the R.O.V operator. Now, even though I'm focusing on the level 3 specialist, I could take a level 2 or a level 1. This is just as high as I can go. But this one is going to let me do 2 actions on the same turn, so I really like that. So let's put our R.O.V operator up here. We don't get a hiring bonus. And now we come here to our inspiration track, and we see that we get to take 2 discs from our supply. We need to move that track up a little bit. And from our coordination track, I get to remove just 2 of these discs. So I will remove 1 from my team leader as usual. Now here, this only lets me do the travel action. The skipper, the navigator, lets me do either travel or sonar, so that's not a hard decision. And now we can take our first action. We got moved all the way over to the left, which is not great. However, we now can take this journal action, can we? Oh no, we still have just 2 research. We need some more research, so I think I am going to dive with this vessel over here. So I need to use, oh, I can use my R.O.V operator. They're going to let me travel and dive. And so actually, since I'm at level 3 on my ingenuity track, I could travel down here. That'll get me an extra disc as an arrival bonus. And I can take a dive token from there. And we do want to maybe deplete those dive tokens. There's how many of them? 4. And that would allow us to do a free travel action if we have a vessel here. But let's do that. So I'm going to use my R.O.V operator. It doesn't matter what order I do these in, these actions, but I am going to travel first. Now, since my ingenuity track is at level 3, I could move this one. Maybe I'll do that. I go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, right? And that lets me, as an arrival bonus, take a disc from my supply and put it in my staging area. And my second action from my R.O.V operator is to dive. Now this has an either or. I can either take 3 research, or I can place an impact token on my impact board. I don't have to do this right away. I do have space to hold 1 dive token. At the end of my turn, I can have no more than 1 dive token. So I might, let's see. So it doesn't do me any good to put an impact token right away because it lets me move 1 up the inspiration track, but I need to move 2. Probably should have gotten the marine, what is that? Marine biologist. Yeah, well, no. We chose the R.O.V operator. We're using it now. No going back. So I don't think I'm going to place that right away because I might need that research. Actually, I might take the research right away. We'll see. All right, so that was my R.O.V operator. I didn't have to put a token out to do the dive action or a disc out. And now I think I'm going to do a sonar action here on the sunken ruins. So I'm going to put a disc on my navigator, which is going to let me choose travel or sonar. So I'm going to come over here and do sonar, and I can pick a level 2 or level 3. My technology level does let me go down to the mesopelagic zone, so that's great. However, what do I want to do? Usually they have better bonuses as you go down, placement bonuses. You know, I think I'm going to come here first to the epipelagic zone, so let's take 2 of those. All right, what do we have? We have a shipwreck and resupply modules. I looked those up because, I mean, they are exactly what you think they are, and that is if you're doing some deep water exploration, this allows you, see, these are in the epipelagic zone, which goes from 0 to 200 meters, but it allows you to have supplies that are a little closer than having to go all the way to the surface. So that's kind of useful. The placement bonus here is moving 1 up the coordination track and 1 up the ingenuity track, and it has an arrival bonus of a disc, which is great. This one lets me move 1 up the inspiration track, 1 up the ingenuity track, and a arrival bonus of moving up the reputation track, which is great. I do actually like this tile because you put 8 dive tokens on it, and what you do when you take a dive action is you draw 2 tokens and choose one and discard the other. It does have sonar. I don't necessarily like that you have to go left first. So this would be 1 up the coordination track, but also research. That's not too bad. This one has links, which is great because that lets you sort of do some extra stuff. And it does have an arrival bonus of a disc. Oh, this is a tough decision. However, I think I'm going to choose the shipwreck. So this is epipelagic zone, so it has to go here. I would not be able to put it here because it would have to have a surface zone first. I could put it here since we already got our leftmost. That's something to think about. Actually, we already got the move to left setbacks, so maybe I'll put it here. Put my shipwreck there. Because it has sonar spaces. So remember, one of my goals is to have, how many was it? 7, I think? 7 discs on sonar actions there. All right, this goes to the bottom of the stack. And that was, what did I do? Oh, I did this sonar action, and I did put all my discs out. So now I just have my team leader left. So let's think. I don't have enough research. Oh, but I do because I have, so there's a couple different things I can do. I could put an impact marker out and get 2 research, or I could take the 3 research. One of my goals, I don't very often meet this one, although I did on the last game I played, is to get 20 points, remember, from your impact board, your specialists, and your journal cards. And most of those points are usually come from your impact board. So I think what I'm going to do with this dive token, which I can use at any point in my turn, it's a free action, I'm going to choose to place an impact marker. I'm going to put it on that research, get 2 research, and now this gets discarded. And now I could take this journal action, which would be great because it moves me 2 up that inspiration track, and it lets me promote a specialist to their senior side. All right, so team leader is going to let me do the action. I'm going to take the journal action. I'm going to use this vessel to do it and mark that journal spot. It does have a brown marker over here on the left, so we're going to move 2 up our inspiration track. That now puts us at level 3 to get 3 discs, and I get to promote a specialist. Now, I could promote this one, but I would lose that disc, which is not great. I think, it does move me 2 up the reputation track, but actually that doesn't do me a lot of good right now because it would leave me at level 3. So I'm kind of stuck there, unfortunately. Did I get my arrival bonus when oh no. I don't know. I was supposed to get an arrival bonus when I arrived there, but I can't remember if I did. So you know what? I'm just going to have to say I didn't. I'm going to have to say I did, even though I really think I didn't get that arrival bonus. Oh, I honestly have no idea. So we'll just say I already did because I don't want to cheat. Okay, so we moved 2 up our inspiration track. That's great. Who are we going to promote? I'm going to promote my marine engineer because I don't want to lose that disc. And the bonus that I get doesn't really matter too much. I should have moved over. Oh, I will be able to take the move action now. That's great. Okay, so I need to pay my 3 research. 1, 2, 3. Oops. And this has no points on it, so I'm just going to set it over here. It has no actions on it. And now, let's see, I put out my journal marker. I used my team leader. And so now I could do a travel action. Oh, let's put this out. I couldn't do a journal action anyway. Oh, that's a pretty good one. Has points and everything. she lets me do a journal action or a travel action. And what do I want to do? If I do a travel action over here, it gives me, oh, I didn't put out my dive tokens. Anyway, if I do a travel action over there, it lets me move 1 up the reputation track. And so does that. That moves me up the technology track. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that goes there. Well, can't do the journal action, so I guess we have to do the travel action. So, or I could just skip it and not do either one, which I'm not so sure that it really does me any good to do the travel action right now. So actually, let's just skip it. Okay, because then she's free for our next round, because right now I can only take back 2 of these discs. I really need to move up that coordination track. All right, we start, we're already in round 5. Oh my goodness, yep, we are. God, it goes so fast. Find the depth 3 zone. Oh, this is great. We don't have a depth 3 zone. I'll read it to you anyway. Find the depth 3 zone that contains the most discs. If tied, choose one. Return all of those discs to your staging area and set aside a vessel there if there is one. Discard the zone. Replace it with the top zone from the depth 3 stack. And then put your set-aside vessel into that new zone. That would be disastrous because we have so many goals that depend on those that we put out. So we got a freebie there. That's pretty lucky. Next thing we do is pick a specialist. We are still stuck at level 3. Fortunately, there's nothing that moves me up the coordination track, which would be great. So let's see. Why doesn't he give a bonus when we flip him? I guess because he does 2 actions on both sides. So I could do sonar and journaling, although that would cost me 3 discs, 1 on him and then 2 out on the board. Although that works me closer towards my goal. Although I do like the travel. However, I also kind of like moving twice up that inspiration track as it gets me closer to nabbing 4 of those. She lets me do conservation or journaling, which is great. I do have some conservation out here. And then on the other side, if I promote my marine biologist to the senior side, remember how I said that the 2 professions don't necessarily have anything to do with each other. This is an aquaculturist on the other side, would let me do 2 conservation actions. So I think I'm going to recruit the marine biologist and move 2 of my inspiration track. Put her up there, and I get to take 3 discs. Okay, well, I'll pick that up later. Right, there we go. So 3 discs, and so now I have 5 down there. I get to take only 2 back from my specialist, which is unfortunate. So I guess I'm going to take it back from my R.O.V operator because they let me do 2, and I kind of want to promote them so that I can move up that reputation track, and then we'll take back from my team leader because they let me do everything, or choose 1 of something. All right, so that's that, and now we are ready to start round 5. This goes so quick, these first rounds. The last 2 rounds will have more discs and more open specialists, so we'll be able to do more things. But man, we are not progressing very much. This is not great. I am not fantastic at this game. Okay, I mean, the last game I played actually did pretty good. I guess that gave me a little too much confidence. So we do already have 4. Nope, we only have 3 discs here on sonar. We do need 7 for one of our goals. We don't have anything over here yet, so I think we need to do that. One of our goals is to have discs in, so we actually have 2 goals that want us to have discs all over the place. This one focuses on the epipelagic, mesopelagic, and bathypelagic zones, and this one just says 11 different tiles. So knowing that, I think I want to dive again because that gives me research and or sometimes something else. And I do want to travel, and I can do those in any order. But I do want to, let me think about this. Oh, wow, I don't really have much journal. Oh, this one's blue. That's great. Costs 4. Holy moly. That's not fantastic because I would like to promote that R.O.V operator, but I think what I'm going to have to do is use that R.O.V operator, right? Not necessarily. Let's see. They don't let me travel on the other side. but that might be okay. Journal actions, there's a blue one there, so I would have to travel to do that journal action. I'm just going to do it. I think I'm going to use the R.O.V operator. I might end up losing that disk. So I am going to travel up here. I get to move 1 at my ingenuity track. And I also, oh, whoops, wait, I get to do those in any order. I already moved up my ingenuity track. I'm going to travel there, but first I'm going to dive because there's no dive tokens up there. Oh, look at that, 4 research. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's fantastic. Right. Now we travel because the R.O.V operator lets me do both. I already moved up my ingenuity track because I forgot what order I wanted to do those in. And that is it for my R.O.V operator. Next, I want to take that journal action, I think, because that's going to move me up here. Maybe I actually need to travel first. Maybe I should have traveled over here. I think instead of traveling there, I'm going to travel over here. So move back down my ingenuity track and travel over here and move 1 up my reputation track, because I think I could do conservation because my marine biologist lets me do conservation, and that would move me up. Oh man, my marine biologist lets me do 2 conservation if they are turned over to their senior side. So let's think about this. If I did 2 conservation with her, I would need 2 discs to do that. But before I did that, I would want to journal because otherwise she would not be flipped over. So to journal, I would need to travel, and then I would need to journal, and that would take 2 discs. I think we can do it. All right, so let's travel using the team leader. I'm going to go back to here. That actually gives me a rival bonus of a disc. So that goes in my staging area. Now I have arrived over here, and now I want to take that journal action. So that's going to use my naval architect and a disc over there, and I want to, that allows me to do the yellow one. And so I can do any one of these 3, but I want to do this one because it moves me 1 up the reputation track. Oh, this is not great. Oh, right, because I'm going to do conservation. I won't have, oh, wait, these are my discs. Oh, I keep forgetting my plans. Okay, so I'm going to do this one, I think, or do I want to do that one? Because I will be able to do 2 up my reputation track. I do have enough research to do both of those. It'll move me 1 up my technology track. Yeah, those are the 2 I'm going to do. That'll require 5 research. I have 5 research, so maybe I'm not going to do this one. This one would move me up the coordination track. So would that one, but this one gives me a dive action. It would only cost me a disc, and it gives me actually 2 dives at the same place. So let's do this one. Oh, I'm not going to have enough research. Oh, no. To do all of my, okay, yep, got it. I can come over here and do this up the, I hope you're following me. I realized that once I pay for this journal card, that takes me down 2 research. Now I only have 3 research. So I am not going to be able to do that. So I might, oh, I kind of messed up in thinking that, yeah, that's not great. That costs 4, that costs 4, these each cost 1. Oh no, this is not fantastic. I messed up. Well, I don't want to, what's this? Oh, that's right. We looked that up. If all the conservation sections are filled up and you have anybody who has a disc there gets to promote one of their operators. This is going to let me promote. Okay, here's what I'm going to do since I messed that up. We're not going to promote the marine biologist. We are actually going to promote the R.O.V operator. I lose this disc and I flip over the R.O.V operator to get a deep sea videographer. That's cool. And that lets me move 2 up the reputation track. So that's going to let me take a level 4 specialist. Okay, I hope you followed all that. And that's just going to come over here. We replace that. All right, so we put out our journal thing. We put a disc out here. These come back because I'm not doing what I thought I was going to do. I could come up here and do, conserve and dive. That's kind of nice. And we have that one. I don't really have any place to do a journal action. We can't move because we don't have that option. So let's do this. Let's come over here. We're going to take a dive action and a conservation action. So I'm going to dive over here. And that lets me either take 3 research or put a marker on the impact board. Ooh, that's great. Let's do the marker on the impact board. I can come here or here to be able to move 1 up the inspiration track, which is going to let me take an extra disc next round. So let's do that. That gets discarded. Now I have, and we haven't done our conservation action yet. I only have 3 research, so I can't do either of these. Both of these allow me to move 1 up the ingenuity track. If I can get both sides of this, it'll let me move up the reputation track, although I'm doing pretty good on the reputation track. So maybe I want to move over here because I'm doing terrible on the coordination track. So let's come up here. It's going to cost me 1 research. I move 1 up my ingenuity track, move 1 research down, and that was that one. You know, I don't have a bunch of research. I don't have a place to journal, so I think I am not going to use my marine biologist right now. And maybe that will, I could upgrade her to senior specialist, and I won't lose a disc that way on my next round. All right, so I think we are done with round 5. We are going to the penultimate round. We turn over our setback card. All players return 1 disc from a depth 1 or depth 2 zone of their choice to their supply. Ooh, that's actually not bad because these are 2 journal actions. Let's see, this one's brown, that one's yellow. So depth 1 or depth 2. I don't want to return any of these because they go towards goals. So brown or yellow, this one's great because it moves me 1 up all of my tracks. It does cost 4 research, kind of a lot, but it gives me 2 points. This one costs 2 research, and this one also costs 2 research, but it gives me some dive actions. That's tempting. No, this one costs 3 research. I would need more research, but I think we'll do that. So that was a yellow. This is a choice because that one's brown. However, that has a blue journal action, and this also has a blue marker. So I have options. All right, so returned that to the supply. This was government intervention. All right, and so now I get to choose a level up to level 4 specialist. So let's do that. This one moves me up the technology track and lets me do the travel action twice, which is actually kind of fabulous. This one moves me 1 up all the tracks, but it doesn't have any actions on the other side. Although it does have a nice bonus when you flip it over. It gives you 2 on that impact board. This one lets me dive twice. I think I have enough divers. Oh, I actually only have the 1, but my team leader lets me dive, and I don't have a ton of dive sites out here, so maybe I'm not looking at that one. I think I like the travel one. That one's pretty nice. And then if I flip it over, so right now it would let me do 2 travel, and then flipping it over would let me do a travel and a sonar, and also get me 1 up the ingenuity track again. So let's do that. I move 1 up the ingenuity track as my hiring bonus, and my vessel captain will come over here. I get 4 discs this time. We really need to move up that yellow coordination track because this is not great, let me tell you. Okay, so we need to get some more tiles out here. I think I'm going to lose horribly. Man, oh man, I think I should have dove more early or gotten more tiles early and moved up this coordination track. That was a mistake, really was. All right, so we got our 4 discs. We get to take 2 back from up here. Yikes, definitely from my team leader. And I think I like that one because it lets me do 2 actions with 1 token, but these ones let me do, that one lets me do sonar or travel. And do I really need this for anything but sonar or travel? That lets me do dive and conservation. That one lets me do travel twice. That's kind of good. This one would let me journal. Yeah. Oh no, I took 1 off there. I need to take 1 off something else. Okay, so 2 actions, just travel, travel or sonar, travel or journal. I think 2 actions. Yeah, let's do that. And that's it over here. We took 2 back. So we need to get more of those back. We really need to focus on this yellow track. So let's do a sonar action. And what I really want to do is sonar in these 2 columns because that goes towards my goal. And I do want to move more up. I only have 1 round left. I really want to get to those level 5 specialists. And if I get here, I get to put a token on the impact board. So let's see, I think I need to do a travel action first and get over here. I think I want to get that one over here. So let's do 2 travel actions. Oh no, that lets me do conservation. Yeah, let's stay there. That lets me, oh, but that one for my sonar, I would have to do 1 up. Oh, but that moves me up the yellow track, the, what is that again? Coordination track. That's not bad. And it gives me a research if I do that sonar action. I could dive here as well and do a conservation over here. I'm going to need to dive. So let's do a travel. Do we want to do 2 travel actions? Think about this. Let's see if we travel. There's nothing that gives me yellow. However, this one moves me up the green one. What was our goal? Oh, coordination and ingenuity. We are doing terrible. Oh no, really need to move. Okay, so that's going to let me move up there. I'm going to need 4 research for that, which means I need to dive, which I can do that on the same turn. Let's think backwards. So that's going to cost me 2 discs. Let's kind of try and plan ahead. Although that didn't work out for me really well last time. And do I want to do a journal action? Because I could do that where I'm at right now. And I could move up that yellow track. I do have a yellow journal action up here. Both of those let me move up that track, but this one I don't have enough research for, so I guess I am going to do this one. Okay, so I am going to take a journal action. I'm going to use my marine biologist to do that. I pay my 2 research, and I get to move 1 up my coordination track, and then I get to flip over one of my specialists, and I like the travel twice. That could be quite useful, although that lets me do conservation twice. Oh, I haven't even looked over here at my navigator. So that's 2 conservation. That's already flipped. So let's do the navigator. Well, that lets me move up the technology track, which would, I keep calling it technology track, ingenuity track, which would give me another vessel. Tough decision. Let's go with our gut. Navigator, that goes back in the supply. We're going to put our navigator to the senior side. Now we have a hydrographer by navigator. All right, so that was my journal action. I didn't put a disc up there, but I did put it on my marine biologist. So now I could dive there. This one lets me choose 2 though. So let's do a move, a travel. That lets me dive and do sonar. I do need to do sonar. So if I travel here and then I dive and do sonar there, because I would take 2 discs to dive and do sonar. That would take up these 2. And then I could dive again and do conservation, and then I could travel twice if I wanted to. I don't think I have enough discs for that. We'll see what happens. Let's do travel first. We'll use our team leader for that. And we will travel here to the shipwreck. That's exciting. We'll move 1 up our reputation track, and now we are going to do sonar and dive, and our sonar is going to come here. Remember, we have to go to the leftmost space, kind of unfortunate, and we move 1. That's great though. We move 1 up our coordination track, which is going to let us take 3 discs back. I'm going to try and get here. We'll see if it happens. And I also get 1 research, which is great. Gets me 1. And then, so I did both of those. So now I want to dive and do conservation. So for my dive, I get to take 2 of these. And I can move this over. Oh, look at that. So I choose 1. I think I'm going to choose the one that gives me 4 research. Let's do that. Discard the other one, but we'll discard this right away as well. I go from 1 to 5, discard that, and now I have 5 research, and I can still have a conservation action to do. So I think I want to do this one because that's going to let me move 2. Do I want to do that one? This one would let me move 1 up. Oh, that's pretty good. And it would put me on the impact board. So I could come here to move up the coordination track. If I could get 2 up, that would be nice. I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah, not going to happen. Oh, I wanted to do, oh well. I guess, actually, let's do this, because then I can do movement here to here or here to here, one of those two. So let's do this conservation action. It's going to let me put a marker on the impact board and move up my coordination track. It's going to cost me 4. Move 1 up my coordination track, and I place an impact marker, which we are also going to get us to move 1 up the coordination track. And things are moving a little more quickly now. And because I completed this link, I get to move 1 up the coordination track. So yay, I can take 4 of these 6 markers back. And actually there's going to be 7 markers out there in a minute. Oh man. However, I could promote these 2 maybe on my next round and the last round and get those discs off of there. So let's do that. I am already, we'll be able to take 4 off. I'll be able to get 4 new discs. I need to move at least one up the reputation track. It would be great if I could also move 1 up the ingenuity track. So we can do that. We get to do the travel action twice. Let's move this one. We are at technology level 3, so I can move 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3 over here. You can have more than one vessel. Unless it says there are a couple, at least one tile where you can only have 1 vessel. But anyway, we get to move 1 up our reputation track. Yay! That is going to let us place an impact marker because we covered up that impact marker symbol. And where do we want to go? Probably not going to get the 20 points goal. So let's focus on moving up tracks. And we need to move these 2 up because that's one of our goals, and that's usually a relatively easy goal. So we'll move 1 up that coordination track. We covered that up. All right, and I get 1 more move action. So then I'm going to take this one and just move it 1 over here, which lets me move 1 up the ingenuity track. I covered up my vessel icon. So I do get to place another vessel. It's my last one. You only have 3. So I place that out there. I get the arrival bonus, which is a disc. Fantastic. And, oh, I didn't put a journal card out right away. Oh, that's a pretty good one. Wow, there are actually a lot of points out there. Maybe I shouldn't give up on those points. Okay, so we did all that. We moved, we did our travel action, and we're done. So now we are going into the final round, round 7. Remember, in the multiplayer game and the co-op game, you only get 6 rounds. In the solo game, you have 7. So each player chooses one. Oh, I hate this one. Flip a senior specialist to its junior side. You don't get the immediate bonus, and you lose the disc. Or reduce your lowest attribute by 2. I never do that because, man, it's so challenging to move up these tracks. So I guess we're going to flip a specialist over to its junior side. The nice thing about that is that we do get to remove the disc. So what did this one have on its... Oh, this one lets us do travel and dive. That's dive and conservation. This one on the other side was just travel, so definitely not the skipper. The hydrographer turns into a navigator and lets me choose between travel and sonar. This side it has sonar and dive. Don't like that. Naval architect, no actions. Definitely not doing that. So I guess let's flip over a deep sea videographer because at least we can still do 2 actions. So we lose that dive token to the supply, and that was our setback. So now we are up to level 5 on our reputation track. We get to choose a level 5. I'm going to bring these over because these ones, let's see, is there space? We have a robotics engineer, a biogeographer, and an adventurer. The robotics engineer, I kind of like this one. It would move me 2. Oh, it's a bummer I'm not one more up. It would move me 2 up that inspiration track, which actually doesn't do me a lot of good right now. Ooh, that one lets me move 3 up the inspiration track. That's fantastic. Okay, but anyway, I like this one because it lets you copy the actions of one of your other specialists. This one would let me do 3 actions. That's great. I don't think I've ever used the biogeographer. It would move me 1 up the ingenuity track, which only does me good in the fact that we're trying to get points over here. And this one lets me do 2 sonar actions. So we already have 5 discs. We only need 2 more discs in our sonar in these columns. I'm not hopeful that, no, maintain a positive attitude, Liz. I like that this one lets me do 3 actions, but it only moves me up the ingenuity track. This one would get me an extra disc, although I do have a board that lets me do that. And yeah, that only has 2 more dive tokens. I think I have to go for the 3 different actions. The dive tokens are not to be underestimated because they're a great way to get research. It does move me up that ingenuity track, which I am trying to make it to a sum of 20 if you look at those very pale numbers that you probably can't see right now. However, 10 is here, and then we have 11 and then 12. And I'm trying to get to 22 combined between those. So let's take the biogeographer. These are all different, by the way. I just uncovered the biotechnologist, but I won't have another chance at these. So I will say, I probably should have looked at the points. This one, if I turn it over, it says for each zone where I have any conservation, I would get a point, but I only have 1 tile with conservation on it. That's actually kind of unusual. Okay, so we take that, and then I can take, I move 1 up my ingenuity track. I take 4 discs from the supply. All right, so doing okay on discs. I can take 4 from my specialist. So I'm actually going to do these bottom specialists just in case I can flip those over. If I can journal twice, will I be able to journal twice with these? Yes, I could do it with my team leader. No, I can't because there are no journal. Oh, there's only 1 journal. I could journal on the blue one, and that doesn't let me turn 1 over. There's only 1 that lets me turn 1 over, and it's yellow or green. Oh dear. Let's rethink this. Definitely off my team leader. This one lets me do 2 actions, the hydrographer, so definitely that. And I've got, actually, let's keep track of this. I've taken off 2. I can take off 4. One of these I might flip over if I can do, I'm kind of hoping this one, like a yellow or a green journaling action. I do want to get more tiles out here. I'm doing woefully inadequate on the tile front. My last game was so much better. I wish I had recorded it. So if I turn one of these over, this one would be good because she would give me 2 conservation, which would be great. And so let's take 1 off of my travel person. And then that lets me travel twice. They only let me travel once. So we'll uncover our naval architect. So that's 4 that I have removed. So there's that. I have a total of 9 discs going into the 7th and last round. I already took my 4 discs. I removed my 4, so we are ready to get started. We need to sonar at least twice over here, and that will get me some more. How many do I need in those? 10? That's not gonna, I don't even have 10 discs. Not gonna happen. What are my other goals? Let's think about this. I think I can get the 7 sonar. That's not gonna be a problem. 8 in levels 2, 3, or 4. I only have 2. I would need 6 more, which means I could put 1 here, which means I would need 5 more tiles. That's 5 sonar actions. Oh, we'll see how I do on discs. I might get resourceful, so that would be 2 goals. We're trying for 4. Oh, actually, this one wants me to have 5 junior specialists. I might. Oh, no, I can't do that because we already got that setback that made us flip 1 over. Well, that's not going to happen. This one zones with at least 1 of all players. I would need 11 of those. I already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is synergistic with this chart the ocean topography. So I have 6. I would need 5 more. I need 6 more for the other one. So if I focus on those, let's do that. We need to add 5 more tiles and put a disc over here. That's what we need to do. So we need to sonar 5 times. How the heck are we going to sonar 5 times? We need to upgrade my vessel captain because they have a sonar on the other side. We have to use the team leader for sonar, hydrographer for sonar, that's 2. If I upgrade the vessel captain, that's just 3. So we would hope that a dive token gets us a sonar. And what else can get us a sonar? There is, it's a long shot, but there is, I think it's in the abyssopelagic zone. I had it in the last game that let you do a sonar as an arrival bonus, but that's in the abyssopelagic zone. I'm almost certain. I don't think it was in the bathopelagic zone. So that actually would only count for the synergistic goal. Let's see, we have 1. We'll probably get that. That's 2. We're not going to get these 2. So we need to do these 2 because I don't think we're going to be able to get to 20. We haven't even gotten any points at all on our impact board. This one gives us a point for each zone where I have any conservation. There's only 1 zone with conservation, so that's not great. I don't have any journals yet with points. I am not doing great. But we'll see. We'll see. I'll kind of be happy with 3 goals. Okay, so don't use these sideways one quite yet because I might need, well, this one I could use for travel because it has sonar on the other side. If I can use a journal card to upgrade it, there's only this one to upgrade it. Okay, so this would get me more discs, which is great, and I can sonar there. I can also sonar here, but I'm trying to get, I need another, let's travel and do sonar over here. I do need to have two more sonar in this. That's not a sonar, that's a journal. Eee, I need 3 more sonar in this column. Oh my goodness. Wow, and I only have 3 sonar that I know of. So I guess, eek, we're gonna have to do sonar here, I think. Travel here will get us another disc. So that's good, and that lets us take a level 2 or 3. We could do a 3 to try and come down here to make sure we can get another tile down here. Let's do that. We would have to travel. Can we travel twice? Is that a good thing to do? This has yellow on it. I would need 3 research, which means I would need to dive first. Oh, goodness. But it would let me travel. Let's see. Okay, let's travel twice. I'm going to let's leave them sideways so I don't forget. We're going to travel once here because it has dive tokens, and that's going to get me, if I use up both of those, that's going to get me a free travel action. So let's travel down here. Now let's keep in mind that this one, synergistic, actually vessels count. So there's that. All right, so that gets me a token, a disc, as an arrival bonus. And I have 1 more movement, so I think, yeah, I think we need to move down here. That lets me move 1 up the inspiration track because that's going to allow us to do a journal action there, which we could use our naval architect to do the journal action. So now we need to do a sonar action over here, and maybe we'll get a good placement bonus. That's really a good hope. Now let's keep in mind our biogeographer lets us do a lot of stuff. So we have finished up with our vessel captain. Oh, but I want to keep it sideways because they have a sonar on the other side. Let's use our hydrographer because our hydrographer lets us dive and do a sonar. So I will dive here. Oh, that has a travel action and research. So let's just put that in our reserve right now. And actually, since it's the end of the game and I don't want to forget about it, I'm going to put it up here because it does have that travel action. So we don't know how we're going to use that yet. So I took the dive action and now I get a sonar action. So I will do that here. So at 2 or 3, I'm going to do 2 of these 3 deep. The oh no, there's no sonar at either one of these. That's not great. I do have 4 discs that are in sonar now because they don't have to be on separate tiles. So let's think about this. This one, if I have a disc in either of these journal actions, which is going to be highly unlikely, I would get a research one for each disc I had out every time I dived there. That's unlikely to happen. I am more likely to do conservation, right? Because I would do conservation with my biogeographer, although she does let me dive too, but I'll probably dive here. So let's do cold water reef. We'll just put cold water reef here. And, let's look at our arrival bonuses. This is 2 up the ingenuity track. This is 2. They're kind of similar. Oh, but the ingenuity track we're getting points for, or not points, that's towards a goal. Oh no, that's not great because this has journal actions and conservation, but I do have conservation over here. So I think we need to go for the placement bonus. These are thermal vents. Oh, those thermal vents are so awesome. It's so much biodiversity. They're on the ocean floor. They're where water meets magma, basically. They usually have like tube worms. Tube worms are what I remember the most of because they're just so cool. I'm going to put a picture up of I can't remember the species, but the tube worms that are the most awesome in my book. They just look really cool. Anyway, so we get 2 up our ingenuity track, which is going to let us place an impact marker. Am I sure I'm not going to get the points? Yeah, pretty sure because I don't have any right now. So this lets us move. That would move us 1. That doesn't really do us any good. This gets us closer to an extra disc and gives us a research. So let's go there and take a research. Okay, did I do all the things? I did the dive and I did the sonar. I placed that. I got my placement bonus. We're good. Oh, I got to put out 4 of these dive tokens. There's 4. All right. I now have 4. 1, 2, 3. I now have 5 sonar. I need 2 more sonar, which I do have space for up here, but I would rather get them on tiles down here. Sonar over here doesn't count, but journal action, having a disc over here would count towards these 2 goals. So let's do that and do the journal action, and then we'll be able to flip over the vessel captain. I hope I have enough discs for this. There's our naval architect is going to let us journal over here. We get a yellow one. This is going to allow us to dive if we have an extra. I don't have enough research yet. Okay, let's not do the naval architect yet. Maybe we'll come down here. This one also has green. That's actually pretty good, and then I would have wasted that movement, but we didn't know that ahead of time. And this could get me some research if I dive over here, but it would at least get me a disc on this tile, which is great. So this lets the R.O.V operator lets me move and dive. And I can move over here. I've pretty much done. Oh, I haven't done everything. I could dive there. Oh, the R.O.V operator lets me move and dive. So then, oh no, I don't know what I want to do. Let's think about this. The biogeographer lets me move, dive, and conserve. So maybe we want to do that. And we move once. We dive. Where do we dive? Oh, maybe we dive here. We move here. And then we do a conservation there. And then we should have, especially if I do that conservation, we should have enough research. Yeah, because I can't get any research on the impact board right now. Because that only costs 1. That's not conservation, that's journaling. Oh, we could do dive and travel because we could dive first and then travel. Let's do that. Okay, I don't know if that made any sense to you whatsoever. So I'm going to dive first. I'm going to take this one and, oh, that's great. I don't need to worry about that, although it does have that dive thing. So this either gets me 4 research, which I actually really need. However, it lets me flip. Okay, I only have to decide by the end of my turn, and I can use these during my turn at any point. So I took the dive action. Now I'm going to take the move action and move down here And I moved 1 up my ingenuity track. So I'm up to 11 here. I'm still way back at 8 here. So I'm only up to 19 combined over there towards my goal of resourceful. So I've done both the actions on my R.O.V operator. I can only have 1 of these at the end of my turn. The other option here is to get 4 research, which is great. So let's think about what we want to do on our next turn. Probably journal. And, oh yeah, because I'll be able to turn over 2 of the, oh, this is good. This is good. Okay, so on our next turn, we're probably going to journal. Oh, I would have gotten a free travel action when I took the last dive token. So that would have gotten me here. So I actually still have a travel action. You know, this is not the best, but let's get somewhere where I can put another sonar. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know we could do it here, but let's move over here. We get our arrival bonus of moving up the reputation track, which doesn't really matter, but if I do it enough times, I can go back and put an impact marker. So that was my travel actually from the R.O.V operator, and I got a free travel when I took that dive token. So we're all good there. Now we are deciding what to do with these 2 tokens, and I think I'm going to flip over to a senior side, one of my specialists, and I'm going to do this one that lets me is going to let me on the other side. It's going to move me 1 up the ingenuity track, which is great. I'm up to 12 now. Got to be careful not to move again. And it will allow me to travel and do sonar. I lose that disc to the supply, but that's okay. This gets discarded. We're probably going to end up using that for research. Did I get my arrival bonuses? I did. Okay, that's fantastic. So maybe we should do, let's see. I think it's time to do the biogeographer. Or no, we need to do a journal action because that's going to help us get research, but we don't have enough research, so maybe we need to do this, or maybe we should just sonar first. That lets us also travel. Oh, we could use this one for sonar, the team leader. Let's do that. We do have some options for travel, so that's great. Let's use the team leader for sonar. And because we're trying to get some more tiles out here to put things on. So I used my team leader for sonar. I'm going to put a disc here. It lets me take a level 3 or more. We could do a 3 and a 4 and see what happens. Let's do that. Let's do 1 mesopelagic and 1 bathopelagic. Ooh, jellyfish bloom and colossal squid. Colossal squid are so cool. These are the largest by mass invertebrates on the planet, and their eyeballs are the size of dinner plates. They're like up to 12 inches, I think. That's amazing. We don't see them very often. They live in the deep, deep dark, and they're big. They're not as long as the giant squid, but only because the tentacles of the giant squid are pretty long. But there we have it. Jellyfish blooms are interesting. We don't always understand what causes jellyfish blooms, but here's something that you might be surprised to learn. Jellyfish, even though when you think of jellyfish, you probably just think, probably not much to them. I'll bet nobody eats them. Actually, a lot of things depend on jellyfish as part of their diet. I know penguins are one of them, and I believe sea turtles. But anyway, there's a lot. I ran across a graph when I was teaching invertebrates that showed, maybe I'll try and find it and put it up on the screen, that showed all of the animals that maybe not all of them, but that a lot of animals depend on jellyfish for food. Even though they're not individually lots of calories and whatnot, you can eat a lot of them. All right, so we're choosing between colossal squid and jellyfish bloom. Jellyfish bloom moves me up the coordination track, which is fantastic because that's one of my goals, to get up here. So if I got up here to 10, I would have achieved that goal because ingenuity is on 12. This one moves me twice on the reputation track, which would get me an impact marker, but that's actually doesn't really matter. It would get me a research, which is great. However, I'm going to do the jellyfish bloom. This is mesopelagic zone. You can see that it's level 3, so I do have to put that either here or here. I'm going to put it. Oh, wait a second. Neither one of these have. Okay, we didn't look and see what they had. This. Okay, wait. I got to think about this. This does have an arrival bonus of moving up the coordination track, and it has conservation that doesn't cost me anything, except for, of course, would cost me discs which is not great. This cost me 5. When I move away from this one, it gives me an extra disc as an arrival bonus. Yeah, let's do that. I don't know if it's the right decision, but let's just go with our gut. All right, the colossal squid goes to the bottom of the bathypelagic zone, and I get as my placement bonus 2 up here. It does let me put an impact token on the impact board. I am going, I can come here and get an extra disc. That's great. Right, we still haven't used that, and that's fantastic. All right, we are no place where we can do more sonar. I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I only need 1 more disc in sonar in these 2 columns, so I could go up there. But yeah, because I'm not anywhere where I can do sonar right now, so I think I need to do that. You know, if I do both of these conservation, I get to flip one of my specialists to their senior side. However, I think what I need to do is journal action, which I can still do. Is this the one I just did? What did I just do? I hope it wasn't. No, I just flipped my expedition leader. That's why they're empty. All right, next. Now remember, vessels count towards synergistic, which wants 11 zones with at least 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 right now. We need 4 more. Includes vessels. We need to sonar one more time, I think. So we need to move and sonar. Hey, and look what our expedition leader lets us do. Move and sonar. That's what we need to do because we need to get some more tiles out here. So let's do that. We're going to move and sonar. I'm going to leave my vessel here just in case. There's not really too much else I can do here except for dive. So we're going to come up here for our move. We get to move 1. Oh no, that's not great, but oh well. I'm going to move 1 up the ingenuity track, but there's no more space we can move. So what we do is we move back here to the impact marker space, but that's only 10. So right now I'm only at 20. So I no longer have that goal. But I do get to put an impact marker up here. So let's put it on here and get some research, just 1. That's good. And all right, so we did movement. Now we need to do sonar. Oh, and we get sonar as the other action we get from our expedition leader. Luckily, the leftmost one lets me choose level 2 or 3. Okay, well, I guess we're going to do 2. All right, so, yep. We'll do 2 level 2s, and I'm not actually a fan of the submerged cave system, but all right, so let's look at what we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got that one. I have little gold stars. So we got this goal right here, the map the ocean currents goal. Fantastic. So we got 1 goal. We backed ourselves out of this goal. As far as getting 8 discs in ore vessels, nope, just discs. At depths 2, 3, or 4, we're really not doing good. We only have 2. This would be our second goal. This would be third. This is good. I'll be happy with 3. I don't think we're going to be able to get more than 3. All right, let's see. This one does let us move up the ingenuity track. Fantastic. It also gives us 1 up the inspiration track, which is good. And this one gets us also 1 up the ingenuity track and 1 up the coordination track. Oh, which is great because these are the ones we're trying to get a goal for. I'm not actually a huge fan of the submerged cave system because you can't actually move through it. As you can see here, this actually means you can do the things as long as you're connected to that cave from an adjacent tile. So this would allow us to do something from this tile and this tile. We're at 2, yeah, okay. This one, what does this have? Oh, no arrival bonus, but you don't have to travel to it, so that's kind of nice. Although, yeah, we do need to have a disc over there. All right, let's do submerged cave system. We move 1 up the coordination track, 1 up the ingenuity track, which means we are finally again at 22. So let's put a gold star on there. We might have to take it off again. We've got 2 of the goals. We need 4 to win the game on the beginner level. We're probably not going to get there, but let's try for 3. Oh, and yeah, okay, we got our arrival bonus. We do have to put out 4 dive tokens. So 1 here, 1 there, and 2 up here. We only have 2 specialists left. We need to flip over our marine biologist, so maybe we need to do a journal action. I have not been paying close attention. We need yellow or green. Green. We do have green here. Let's do a journal action. We're going to run out of discs. I don't know if this is going to work, but at least it gets us something here, right? I don't have anything else that lets me travel, do I? I haven't done this one yet. Nope, I haven't done that one yet. Okay, so we're putting a disc here on our naval architect. Oh no, I only have 1 disc left. We can travel someplace that gives us a disc. We can travel here. I'm kind of looking at this. We can do a dive action here, which would get us a research. Are we going to be able to... Oh, thankfully, we have 3. Fantastic. We do have 3 research. We do have this in reserve too, which could give us either research or travel action. So I have 3 research. I go down to 0 to pay for this journal card, and I am going to move 1 up the coordination track, and I get to flip a specialist. So this one lets me dive and do conservation. That lets me do 2 conservation. I don't have enough discs to do 2 conservation. So let's flip our R.O.V operator, and I lose that token, and it gains me 2 up the reputation track. So I go back here to where I get to place an impact marker. I probably shouldn't have given up on the points so quickly. So let's just put 1 here where we can get 2 points. It's probably too late for that. I'm up to 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't have any points on any of my journal cards. I don't think I'm going to get them, but oh well. I'm going to leave this one out here because it does let me dive if I happen to have enough discs to do that. I'm not, too hopeful about that. All right, so I do have a disc here now, which is great. I have 1 more disc left. I do have a travel action. I think I have to take the travel action. I don't think there's anything else I need research for. That's not true. I do need research to do a conservation action if I want to do a conservation action. I don't really know if that's going to happen. Oh, I could have done here instead of here for my journal action. Let's do that, actually. I'm just moving the place where I did the journal action. It's not, oh no, because that's going to let me do research. Is that going to help me at all? I am going to travel here. That requires 2 research. And I'm going to use this. Oh no, I can use my biogeographer to travel here. That's going to give me a disc, which is going to let me do conservation here. That only requires 1 conservation. This lets me get a research. That one costs 1 research. Man, I'm tired and hungry right now. That's going to let me get a research because I do have a disc on this tile. Oh, goodness. I don't know what to do. It would be better to travel here because that's going to give me a disc as well. And it puts me on another tile because we are going to try and get a 3rd goal. So let's do that. Let's do our biogeographer. They're going to let us dive and travel and do a conservation action. So we're going to dive here. We do have a disc here, so we get 1 research. And for my dive token, I did pay for that. Okay, my dive token gets me 4 research, and that's all it does. So let's take it. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're up to 5 research. That was unexpected. So I did the dive action. Now I'm going to do the move action, which is going to give me a disc because I'm going to move here. So I have a vessel in that spot. So that's going to give me another disc. Great. And now I get to do a conservation action, which I can't do here. That's unfortunate, but I could do here, and then I could move away from that spot. So what do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, that would only get me up to 9, and I would need 11. That's unfortunate. Yeah, there's no way that's going to happen. Oh well, we're going to get close. Sorry, guys. But anyway, I'm going to do a conservation action. So I actually do now have 5 research. So I could do a conservation action here or here, but I think I'm going to go here because it gets me more stuff. I can move 2 up the inspiration track, which would get me an impact token. I don't think it's going to do me a lot of good because it just isn't. Oh, and it would move me 1 up this track, which would be disastrous. That one, ooh, also moves me one up that track. That is disastrous because then I wouldn't have reached that goal. So let's look at that one. Oh, I wish I could do this one. I can travel at any point during my turn, and I already have a disc here. Let's think about this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, we're still going to come up short. But we can use this to travel, so let's do that. Let's just travel from here to here. Ooh, that gets me another disc. Oh, I don't know. This might work. Oh, so maybe we don't want to travel away from there. Maybe we want to travel away from here. And so we still get our other disc. Oh, right there. Okay. And the reason is, why was the reason that I didn't want to travel from here? Because it lets me dive. And, oh, I could dive from there. But that gives me it doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I get that anyway. So that was this travel action from my dive token. So it did get me a disc. And I can do that at any point during my turn, even when I'm in the middle of doing all the actions. So I do still have a conservation action. I came here because this gives me a conservation action, and it puts me a disc on this tile. So I get to move one up my ingenuity track, which puts me at the end, and it costs me 2 research. All right. And did I do the dive? Yeah, I did the dive because it got me 4 research. So that was good. So I did everything on my biogeographer. And now I am just doing my last thing I can do, which is my deep sea videographer. It might be that the only thing I can do is dive. So let's do that. We are going to dive here because it will give us a research. So we move one up the research track, and free sonar action does us no good. Oh, I forgot I had a dive action here. Let's actually, instead of doing the deep sea videographer, let's do this dive action. I forgot I had that. So we dive, and then we get to dive again at the same place. So we did this dive. It gives us sonar or research, and we're going to dive again at the same place, which also gives us a research token. And we get to move one up a track, which does us no good, or get 4 research. That unfortunately does not give us another disc, which is really what we need to do another sonar, which actually doesn't do us a lot of good. Okay, I think we're done. I mean, I'm going to move up all the stuff. That doesn't do us any good. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm doing that just to show you some at the end, but we have lost the scenario. I usually don't even add up my points when I lose the scenario because it doesn't matter. All right, so we'll leave that there. So let's see what we did. We were able to get the coordination, the coordination and ingenuity bonus. We got a gold star for that, and because we got at least a combined of 22. We did get at least 7 discs. I think we have exactly 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in sonar in columns B and C. So we did get that. That's 2 goals. And then this was another possible goal, but we needed 11 zones with at least either a vessel or a disc. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We are 2 short, so we did not get that one. This one wanted us to have 5 junior specialists. I already gave up on that one because I don't like that one. And then here, explore the far reaches. We would have needed 10 discs in columns D and E. We only even had 2 tiles. We have 3 of the 11 or 3 of the 10 that we needed. In chart the ocean topography, we would have needed 8 discs at levels in the epipelagic or mesopelagic zone, and vessels don't count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of, we were so close. Could we have made different decisions? I was thinking, oh, no. It's not discs. It is per zone or per tile at depths 2, 3, and 4 where you have at least 1 disc. So no, we only have 1, 2, 3, 4. We only have 4 out of the 8, so we only made it halfway there. So we got 2 of the goals, and we were close on a third, so lost. But I will tell you how you score in this game, just so you know. Now, in the solo game, you're just trying to meet the goals, and honestly, that's hard enough to do. Remember, one of our other goals was to get 20 points between specialists and cards and the impact board. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points on my impact board. I don't have any journal cards with points, and I didn't manage to turn over the specialist. If I had, she would have given me 1 point for each zone where I have any conservation, but I only have 2. So that would have given me 2 points, so I would have been up to 7 points, so not much. So there's that. So you don't add up your points in the solo game. I mean, I guess I would if I won, to keep track of that, right? But I'm mostly just trying to go for goals. Now, if you're playing co-op or multiplayer, you would add up all of your points. And so you would still get points from cards and specialists and impact board. There's also, instead of actually just bare minimum meeting the goals, you actually get points. Now, you don't have the bonus cards. Actually, I think you do I don't know if you do in the co-op, actually. However, here you do first and second place for who has the most of that goal, right? So, and then you also get points for the sonar disc. So if we were playing like a multiplayer game, we would have gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We would have gotten 7 points for sonar. And then if we were in first place, we would have gotten an additional 4. Second place would have gotten us 2 points. And that's kind of the way it works. You usually get like a point per disc or a point per vessel or disc, and then you're going for first or second place. Additionally, in the multiplayer, and I'm assuming the co-op game, I haven't played this co-op yet, you get the points that are shown at the top of the columns here for where your markers are on your player board. So here I would have gotten 10, 10, and 10, so 30, and then plus 7 here, so 37. So plus my 7 from the impact, 5 from the impact board. I didn't flip over my specialists. So that would have been 42, and I'm not even going to add these up, but it would have been some points on these goals over here. So, probably somewhere in the 50s or something. So that's how that works. So that is the game. Hopefully you enjoyed the playthrough if you watched the whole thing. If you watched the whole thing, comment which of these tiles is your favorite. We have, and just, however you want to judge that. We have the Sea Star, Calm Seas, Remote Anchorage, Decommissioned Oil Rig, Submerged Cave System, which would be kind of cool to dive in, Sunken Ruins, Shipwreck, the Looking Glass, which is sort of a human-occupied vehicle. We also have Jellyfish Bloom and Thermal Vents. So if you made it through the playthrough, comment your favorite from one of those, or something else that was your favorite about the game. So I guess we go on to review now. I'm trying to think if I missed something. So let's go on to review. Let me look at my checklist. So background information for the game. So who you are, what you're doing, general theme, that's all ocean research. Now it is specifically research, and then for our mission we were mapping the depths, which I failed to talk about at all. I did a bunch of research. This one, I know I haven't written in my blog in over a year because it takes a lot of work to do that research. It's fun work. It actually is the time that it takes. And I've been choosing to spend the extra time that I have on recording videos, which I also enjoy doing. However, I did a whole bunch of research for this game and then failed to talk about hardly anything. Well, mostly I didn't get to a lot of the cards that I did. I looked up most of the tiles, especially in the abyssopelagic zone. So I told you already that we have mapped about 25% of the ocean floor, and I'll show you what that looks like because it's in like crisscross patterns because of the way ships move and the way sonar works. We have done rough maps using satellite, but you can't actually map the features on the ocean floor using satellite because it's just the resolution from that is not good enough. It doesn't travel through water well enough. The light, because it requires light. Sonar, of course, requires sound. Or not light, sorry, not light, radio. Radio from satellites, man. I'm tired and hungry. And I will say part of the reason we haven't mapped the ocean floor to greater degree is that it has there's limited interest in it commercially or economically, which is where the money would come from. Now, there is more money recently because people are interested in mining, so I'll talk about that in just a minute. However, I will say in 2017, we had only mapped about 6% of the seafloor. There are 400 million kilometers of seafloor. You got to remember that the ocean covers 70% of our planet. And so there is actually more ocean floor than there is Earth. And if you thought the ocean floor was just all flat sand, you would be wrong. It looks pretty much like the Earth. It's got mountains, seamounts. It's got ridges, plains, and there's some things mentioned in here. Let's see. So seamounts, abyssal plains. We have abyssal trenches. Think the Mariana Trench. What do we have in here? Brine pools, those are cool. I want to talk about those. Continental shelves, which, is where the continents sort of fall off into the ocean. And I think we're going to not be talking about actual, rift valleys. And we have our carbonate spires. We have coral gardens, sponge gardens. I mean, it's amazing down there. Okay, I just want to take a minute to talk about brine pools because I never knew these existed. They are lakes in the ocean. I bet you didn't know that existed. If you did, let me know. But these are brine pools. They're super salty and they come about by, I think it's the release of salt deposits under the ocean floor, something along those lines. But they're toxic to anything that goes into them with at least one exception, and that is hagfish. So when other fish venture into there, they die. Or other organisms venture into there, they die. Hagfish can go in there for a limited time and feast on the things that have died, but they do have to get out. They are also limited in their time that they can spend down there, so that is brine pools. However, what I really wanted to say is that there is a project that you should look up if you're interested in this called Seabed 2030. This is an international collaborative project between a couple different foundations or maybe a few different foundations. It is tied into the key initiative for the United Nations Ocean Decade, which really aims to fill the gaps in our knowledge of the sea floor. So I think that one also includes like ecology and that sort of thing. People are always saying it's less mapped than the surfaces of Moon and Mars, which is true. But if you think about the area of the ocean and you compare that to the area of the Moon and Mars, I think it is actually quite a bit more. I'll have to verify that. So one more thing to look up while I'm editing. I'm trying to make the editing on this go quicker, but the more I talk, the less quick it goes because then I have to put pictures up and everything. Let me know if you like that. I know some of you like hearing me talk about this, but let me know if the pictures are even something I should spend time on because quite honestly, that's usually what takes the most time with these videos. It's honestly what I have the most fun with when I edit, but it does take a lot of time and I've been very short on time lately. Anyway, Seabed 2030, fantastic project. They're hoping, as the title might have told you or the name might have told you, they're hoping to map the whole seabed by 2030. So there's a lot of value in that, which you can get on their website and they'll tell you. But, one of them is that people do want to mine, companies do want to mine the ocean floor because apparently there's basically all the minerals that we use to make batteries and such. If you think about batteries that we need for solar energy and wind energy and all of that technology, they're all down there on the seafloor. However, the seafloor does not recover quickly. When you mine these things, you're basically just scraping the sea floor, and sea mounts apparently are a good source of copper. So you're really destroying a lot of things. And what we now know is that research shows that it just doesn't recover even decades later. That it's kind of like when you leave footprints in Arctic tundra, those footprints will still be there for a long, long time. And then what I also want to recommend is I am listening right now to a book called The Deepest Map by Laura Trethewey. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. I'll put a picture up on the screen. But it's fantastic. I'm actually almost done with it. I'm reading it, listening to it because of this game and doing this video. And it just has shown me how much about the ocean I really don't know. I learned a bit about it when I was teaching invertebrate biology because, most of the invertebrates on the planet, well, not by individual numbers, but, most of the invertebrates on the planet live in the ocean. I don't think by numbers. I think that's insects, but now I can't remember. Anyway, The Deepest Map. So it talks a bit in general about mapping the ocean and the ins and outs of that and what makes it difficult. It's talking about some of the people who are doing that, including private companies, and then it has a chapter on mining, which is really depressing. And it has a bit, now I wasn't listening really close, I was doing some other things with this part, so I'm going to have to go back and re-listen, but it talks about some of the historical artifacts that you can find when you are, studying the seafloor, so that's pretty interesting. Anyway, great book. The narration is great if you like Audible books. And then what was the one other thing I wanted to say? Oh, no. Oh, I know what it was. There are 2 YouTube channels that you should check out if you want to see some of the unique organisms and the whole ecosystems down on the ocean floor and in the ocean depths in general. And that is EV Nautilus has a YouTube channel. They also have a website where they live stream I believe it's a remotely operated vehicle, but it's just amazing some of the critters that they find down there. Absolutely stunning. And it's also really fun to hear them exclaim when they run across these things, because this is live stream. They don't edit it or anything like that. It's really fun. So that's EV Nautilus. I'll put a link to that down in the description. The other one I like is Mbari. This is the Monterey Bay. What's the A stand for? Something Research Institute. Might be Aquarium Research Institute. I can't remember. Put that up on the screen. Anyway, I'll put a link down to that in the description below too, because they have some awesome videos from there. They don't live stream, I don't think. I can't remember actually. But they have some amazing videos up on their YouTube channel where you can just see some amazing critters. And yeah, I recommend both of those quite a lot, especially the EV Nautilus. That's my favorite one. All right, I think that's everything I wanted to say. It's not everything I wanted to say. I could talk on and on and on. So that's why I think I might actually resurrect my blog, and eventually it probably won't happen until at least fall break, which is Thanksgiving, probably over winter break is when I'll have time to do that. So, but I've already done a lot of the research, it's just writing it. So now let's go into the review. And I love this game. This is I have lost so many times and not found that at all discouraging, because one of the things I love about this game is that losing on the solo mode anyway makes me want to explore different paths to victory. And so I have played this mission how many times? 7, well now 8 times. I did win on the beginner level, the last game I played, which unfortunately was not recorded on video because the strategy I wanted to try out in that game that worked really well, but a little bit of luck, right? In what, well, it's not luck actually in the specialists you choose, but a little bit of luck in what tiles you draw and what dive tokens you get and what cards come out, like what would have been my next one. Ooh, that's a really good one. Anyway, so there's a little bit of luck there, but it's not much luck, right? Just dive tokens and cards that come out pretty much. The other luck is actually all of these level 5 specialists are different. And so you shuffle these up each time and put 3 of them into each of these. And that when you get to level 5. So the last game I played, I actually was able to get 2 level 5 specialists because my strategy for that one was to zoom up track, which is what I was trying to do this time, but it didn't work out quite so well. I think in the last game I was much luckier in getting these symbols, the, what is that again? The reputation track symbols. And I didn't start out this way, but it quickly became evident to me that I needed to focus on the impact board. And so I actually do think I ended up, now I can't remember, I think I did end up with 20 points between the impact board and the cards, which I think I only had 2 or 3 points on the cards. But I also had a specialist that was worth 4 points. And then what was the other specialist? Oh, the other specialist I had gave me 3 points for each set of these symbols that I had. I only had 1 set, but still that was 3 points. So between that specialist and then where's the one that gives 4 points? This one, the robotics engineer, gives 4 points. So that was 7 points already. And when I was able to get my second one and I already had a few points on the impact board, I really pushed for the points in the last round. I think I got that. I got 2 really great bonus goals that are not as hard to do. So I had both of these actually. The one that wants you to get 22 in, so we had that one, coordination and ingenuity, and then 22 also in reputation and inspiration, which I could have done if I had focused a little more on it. I almost never pull this one, which seems a little easier to do, and that is leftover research, where it only requires you to have 6 leftover research. This one I've never fulfilled. That's fully completed zones, because that does depend a lot on luck. Like this zone is fully completed because I filled in both of the sonars and I exhausted the dive deck, right? But that's only 3 things. That one's not. This one isn't even fully completed. I would have had to get that last dive token and then do the journal over here. So it wants you to have 4 of those, which is quite a lot. The junior specialist one I hate because part of my strategy is to get these specialists turned over. And then we had this one, which is really challenging, zones with at least 1 of your things. Now vessels count. And I actually think I got that one last time because in my last turn, I remember moving some of my vessels. I think I had the person who let me move twice I don't remember, where was that? Oh, it was this guy on the other side. I don't think he was upgraded. So there was that. Oh, right, because I think my last setback was flip a senior specialist to its junior side last time. The setbacks can be really much of a setback. This is all players move all of their vessels 2 zones up. We got this one. Each player returns one of their own discs from a conservation site of their choice. Put the disc in your staging area. When we got that one, we didn't have any in a conservation zone. Each player, so this one it's probably my least favorite, reduce your lowest attribute by 2 or flip a senior specialist to its junior side. Remove 1 disc from a depth 1 or 2 to your supply. This is the depth 3 zone one. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's long, but basically you remove all the discs and set aside your vessel and then replace that with the top tile. And then this is all players move all of their vessels 2 zones left. That one's not as bad as the move 2 zones up because 2 zones up can be pretty brutal sometimes. So those are the setbacks. I've heard a lot of people who have trouble with the solo mode and don't tolerate the losing as well as I do, play without the setbacks. And I think the publisher or the designer or somebody has said that's fine. Do that if it makes it more fun for you. I mean, really anything that makes a game more fun for you, if you want to do that, you should do it. Actually, like I said, I don't mind losing this one because it makes me want to try out different strategies. So some of the things that I've tried are the last one, which was moving up here. I've tried focusing here on these 2 tracks, inspiration track and the coordination track. But if you don't also focus on the reputation track, that's kind of it's not great. You really need to get all of them, but I think what I've figured out is getting this top one first is a really good idea. And then trying to build out your ocean more. In the last game I played, I actually was able to get down to 5 on one of these, or maybe both of them. I didn't have any here and here, but I think I was able to build out these 2 columns quite a bit. And I did have one over here. So, like I said, I can't remember which goals I met. I do have a picture of the end of it. But anyway, it went really well. Okay, wait, sorry, I digress. Back to the review. A little bit of strategy tips for you. How many times I've played the game. So I've played the solo game 10 times, although the first 3 times I played, I thought that I did the 20 points thing wrong. So I think I lost all of those. I thought I won 2 of them. Because I was including in that 20 points these points over here from your player board, but it does not include those. So make sure you are clear on that because I wasn't, but it was my own fault because I didn't read. It's very clear in the rule book, so I don't know what I was thinking. And I've also played it 4 times with 3 people, and we all love it. My partner loves it. Our son loves it. In fact, we just played it again last month. So we played twice back in October, not long after I received the Kickstarter, I think. I don't think it took me very long to get to the table. And then it did take us a while to get back to the table because we've had a lot of new games to play, but we've been focusing on replaying games lately. And so we replayed this one back in August, and I wouldn't mind getting it back to the multiplayer table sometime soon. It's obviously way too much for my mom. My mom's brain would explode on this one. She would not enjoy it. It would not be fun for her. And, there's no sense playing a game if it is not fun. So that's my philosophy anyway. Feelings or thoughts that the mechanisms invoke. I do love seeing the tiles because they really do show you a lot of stuff, right? So we have all sorts of stuff. Kelp forest is really cool. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest and we have kelp forests off the coast there, atoll, volcanic island, dying reef. I love seeing the animals, of course. We have dolphin pods, let's see, ledge elevator, whale calving grounds, sea turtle migration. Sea turtles are amazing. It is a bit of a table hog, although you can pile these up in one pile. You just alternate them. They suggest that in the rule book if you're short on table space, but it's still, a little bit of a table hog. You can move things over, and if you get down far enough, you can start, moving them over. This was the thing that I settled on once I had played it 7 times. So I have played it quite a few times. I still love it. I am looking forward to playing through all 10 missions. I will play, I probably won't play maps and charts again because I did win it yesterday. So the next one is the Oceanic Journal, which says publishing what you learn from field experience is vital towards building a team of skilled operators. Well, it's also vital for science and for getting grants. Race to journal your research. You can find value specializing in a field of study and in diversifying as well. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, look at this. So these must actually represent different areas of study. I had not thought about that. So there's that. And yep, dedicated research per field symbol. I honestly don't know. Does it say in the rule book? Let's see. We're looking in the journal. I don't think it says. So I guess they represent different areas of research, but they're not, I don't see anything that tells us what those different areas of research are. So if you know, put that down in the comments. I'm not going to spend too much time looking. All right, let's see. Oh, and so that's going to be the next one I play. If you want me to record it, let me know. I might do that. Mission 4, better than you found it. You can kind of guess what that means. Where's mission 5? Mission 5 is Fallen Star. A terrible storm has sent the Sea Star crashing to the uncharted depths while deep sea rescue and recovery races in from afar. Scout the depths that you can reach to see how disaster may have impacted the area. The impact board looks really cool there. A couple dolphins. This one's a sea turtle for mission 4. Mission 3, nothing fancy. Mission 6, Star Search. The storm is I probably shouldn't tell you all these things because it looks like it's telling a story. So yeah, I'm not gonna give away any more because yeah, maybe I'll put spoiler alert in the video. I edit that because it looks like it's telling a story. So that's interesting. I didn't realize it was telling a story even more. If you want me to record any more of these, let me know and I will. Probably won't go too much into depth on the biology. It would just be a playthrough because those are a little bit quicker to edit and play for that matter. All right, what's the next thing? Thoughts that went into purchasing the game. Honestly, when I saw this on Kickstarter, it was a no-brainer for me. I mean, I did do a bit of research. I looked at some previews so I could get an idea of the game mechanisms. But I love this theme. I really love modular boards where they change every time. I mean, I think we only have 2 of those. We have this and we have Clank Catacombs. Very different games. This is fantastic. I really like that. I love that there's tiles for the specific depths and they obviously put some thoughts into what is representing each depth or what is included in each depth. So that's interesting. I should say each of the scenarios or missions does have a different starting configuration for the tiles. It would be fun if they had different specialists for the different missions. There is an expansion that just was on Kickstarter. I think it's finished. I can't remember. Probably you could late pledge it depending on when you're watching this video, or it might already be in retail by the time you watch this, but I did back that one. Also a no-brainer because I knew how much I loved this. So definitely I'm looking forward to playing through all the missions. That's going to happen for sure. And if it weren't for the fact that I have to record a couple of unboxings for my patrons, I would just leave this set up, to be quite honest, and play through a few more scenarios because, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to have to put it away and record the unboxings. I've got Nature to unbox and what else? Shallow Seas and there's a couple other things I'm forgetting, but you don't want to hear that. So that was thoughts that went into purchasing the game. Not much. Is it fun at all player counts? Well, I've played it at 3 and 1 and I really enjoy it. They're very different games because when you play it with multiple players and probably even more so at 4, you are competing a little bit for the journal spots and the conservation spots. So, you know, like I remember when we played last time, I was going to go for a specific journal spot, but then it was either my partner or our son got there first. And I'm like, I wanted that because there was a journal card I wanted. So definitely there is what I call indirect player interaction. You know, they obviously can't affect your stuff directly, but they can get in your way on the board. And so I really like that. And of course, you know, when there's more players, you're probably going to have more of the ocean board showing because they'll be going sonar as well. So there's that. But then they get to choose, right, when they do the sonar. So I really like it. I like it both solo and multiplayer. And like I said, I mean, they're not very different games because you're basically doing the same thing. You're exploring the ocean. You're doing the same actions. You're moving up the board. You're recruiting specialists. You're doing the impact board. But on the impact board, you're all sharing that. And so you kind of build off each other. So you can steal spaces from where somebody wanted to go, but you also can get further on the board because there are more players. So that's pretty interesting. So yeah, I think it's fun at all player counts. I think it goes up to 4. The expansion might make it go up to 5, which never interests me because I never play at 5, but there's that. What do you do between turns? Well, my son wanders around. What do I do between turns? My partner and I stare obsessively at the board and at the specialist and at the impact board and our player board, and we plan all of our moves while we are sitting there. Our son is a pretty good chess player, and he's just really good at games where you plan ahead. We played Rebuilding Seattle yesterday, and he won both games. And again, wandering around in between his turns, but he knew what he wanted to do. He had a strategy and he executed it, and he's really good at thinking ahead right like that and sort of seeing what it is he wants to do. Now, I don't think he won this one, but he did good. He did really good. Decisions on your turn, just right, not enough, too many. I'm going through my review list. I think it's just right. It's definitely really thinky. I don't even know what the weight of this is. I'll put it up on the screen. But if I had to guess, I would say it's somewhere between a 3.5 and a 4. It might even be above 4, but I don't think so because there's not a lot you have to juggle because it's all right in front of you. And there's not, maybe a 3.5. Because on your turn, like you're just deciding what actions to take, and you have limited actions you can take. You have 3 vessels at most on the board. Did I even? Yeah, I did get all 3 out. So you are constrained, but in an interesting way, right? It makes you make some tough choices. So I really like that. Like I said, my mom would not enjoy this game because she doesn't like games where there's too much going on, but we really do. I love tracks of resources. I like that actually better than having piles of stuff. Oh, I forgot to mention when you do the score, you would also get, for your leftover research and any leftover discs, you get some points there. All right, next, visual appeal. Beautiful, love it. I will say, I feel like my tiles are a little darker, and some other people had the same feeling, although actually I think mine aren't quite as dark as some people. Some people had a hard time reading down here, but I remember when I first pulled out the specialists, I was like, they look kind of muddy. Some people don't think there's a difference, but there's that. I still think it's beautiful. I think the artwork on the tile is nice. You know, the specialists, I think, those are all the same, have a nice diversity. So what do we have? We have a typical white guy. I don't know. Might be lots of females. Can't tell there. We definitely have some representation from different areas of the globe. Different skin tones represented. Oh, we have stuff on the other side. So I love the fact that it's probably about half females, if I had to guess. So there's that, which is good. Represents, the real world. And there are actually a lot of women who do oceanographic research. So that's representing reality as well. So that's great. I wonder if they made any of these look like, especially the level 5 ones, I wonder if they made them look like real researchers. That would be really interesting if they chose to do that. It'd be quite an Easter egg. If you know, let me know in the comments. What is the relationship between the theme and the mechanisms? It's a little of a tough one, actually, because this could be other stuff. Could be a different theme. I do like the fact that you're going down in the depths. I love the fact that, it is sort of thematic that you can't uncover the deeper tiles until later in the game because it takes time to go down in the depths. In fact, people have a hard time being down in the depths, but I digress. I'll cover that in the blog. I don't want to make this any longer than it already is. So that's thematic, but I don't know. The names of everything, of course, is this thematic. You're doing sonar to get tiles. You're doing conservation to sort of increase your resources, like your ability to do more research. That makes sense because the more you publish. So journals, I guess this actually is quite thematic because, the journals a lot of times are moving you up those tracks. And if you're publishing in journals, if you're publishing your research, it does make it easier to do more research because you're more likely to get funding. People are more likely to want to work for you. And we have things, I didn't read any of these, I should have when I was playing, but like advanced pressure venting technology, networking for underwater communication, safe movement. These are actually a lot of look like, these actually don't look like a lot of research journals. They actually look like a lot of technical, AI models for deep sea research. That's an interesting thing to think about. Actually, a lot of this could be research journals, deep water satellite imaging. Anyway, you can go through those. So you do have to publish research in order to do more research because, like I said, you'll get funding, you'll get people working for you, you'll be able to buy better technology. So that is pretty thematic. The mechanisms themselves could be a different theme, but I think that the mechanisms and the names of everything and the way they tie together, sure, I think it's pretty thematic. Yep, I hadn't really thought about it before, if you couldn't tell. I do love it, and I do think about ocean conservation when I'm doing it. In fact, I was listening to that book I recommended, The Deepest Map, while I was playing the past few times, which was pretty interesting to do, to think about that and listen to it. Table presence, it occupies a good deal of space. My camera is way above me right now, and as you can see, you're not seeing a ton of detail, but because it takes up big space. However, I love this tray because you can just pass it around when somebody needs a specialist, and you don't really need to have it near the game area. Just one person really needs to be able to reach it. And you've got trays for your tokens. I don't know how much of the insert is deluxe version that I have and how much is retail version. I do know, I'm pretty sure that they all have the specialist tray. So I think you can bank on that. I think the double layer boards are the deluxe version. And I know that the screen printed things are deluxe version, that they're just cubes, but that would be fine. I mean, usually the retail version is fine for me. I think the deluxe version is over the top usually, but I was so excited about this theme that I went in on the deluxe version. Okay, so that was table presence and table haughtiness. Length. The solo game, I don't know how long it took me to record it, but really you can knock out a solo game in 40 or 45 minutes, so that's fantastic. A multiplayer game, I don't know what the box says, but probably about an hour, maybe a little more. 3 players with 2 of us who are prone to AP. Yeah, maybe. Player interaction, we talked about that. It is indirect, but you can get in each other's way when you're playing multiplayer, and you can take spots that other people wanted, and now those spots are taken, and so they have to go other spots. But, as more and more people are doing sonar, they're building out the board. So you can just not do sonar and take advantage of everybody else's sonar unless it is a goal over here that you're going to get points for, which maybe it always is. I don't know. Complexity. That's an interesting question. It is not super complex. You do have to string some things together. You do have to balance your resources down here. Movement, you're constrained, but in interesting ways, but you do have to make decisions out here. So I'm trying to think of what to compare it to, but I can't think right now what I would compare it to. Yeah, I don't know. It's decent level of complexity. It's not a heavy Euro game. It's right in the middle. It's above Wingspan, but below Weather Machine. That's a bad comparison. Weather Machine's way up there. But it's a little bit above Wingspan, I think. Luck versus skill, I talked about that a little bit already. The luck comes in the dive tiles and the cards, and a little bit of what level 5 specialists come out. But you really have a lot of control over everything else. I guess a little bit of luck in what tiles come out. But the fact that you draw 2 and choose 1, it actually helps mitigate that. I was a little frustrated I wasn't getting more sonar tiles down here, but there was enough sonar spaces and I was able to fulfill that goal, so I guess I had plenty. Is it challenging or easy? If you're playing the solo mode, it's super challenging. I would say moderately challenging at multiplayer. The solo mode is super challenging, and actually there are quite a lot of entries in the forum on BGG for this game that talk about how hard the solo mode is, but I don't mind that. Because to me, like I said, it makes me try different strategies and really think about what does this mission require, and I'm looking forward as I go through the missions to seeing how different strategies come into play. The only thing I wish was a little different is that more of the tiles varied between modes, but I guess that would make the game more expensive. There's the Fallen Star. I'm not going to show it to you because I did get a couple of maybe 3 mini expansions. So I have Underwave Academy, Wanderer Dock, and Orca Reenter. I think there was more of these ones with the yellow. I must have left them in the box, so actually I don't know how many of those are. But there are a few, and these have to do with the starting tiles. So this is the Looking Glass is one of the starting tiles, and these don't go in these piles, the ones that have the little icons up in the corner. They don't go in those piles, so there's that. Uniqueness, how different is this game from other games? Interesting. You're moving around the board, you're placing tokens to do things. That is not unique. You're using workers that you refresh in between rounds, that's not unique. However, I don't know if I know of another game where you're limited, like you have control, but you have to work towards freeing up those specialists at the end of the round. And there's only a limited number of rounds, so 6 in the multiplayer and the co-op, and then 7 in the, and they go fast, man. Especially I think because the first 2 or 3 rounds go really fast because you don't have many discs. So that really makes those first few go fast, but then the last couple, take a lot longer because you have discs and specialists and, way more options. There's more ocean tiles, more things to do, you have research. So what was the question again? Uniqueness. I don't know, probably a little bit unique, but a lot of the mechanisms you've seen before, but I think the way that they're put together is a little bit unique. But, I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think a game needs to be unique to be good. It just needs to be fun. You just need to enjoy it for it to be a good game. So yeah, I think it's fine. Just unique enough. Rulebook. Oh, rulebook. I hadn't really thought about that. I guess the fact that I hadn't thought about it says that it's decent. Let's take a look. I won't look at the whole thing, but, has a lot of pictures in it, and it does have some examples, so edge cases. And there's no player aid, which actually would be useful for a couple things, but they would be small player aids. They would be about the size of a card probably, because you do have your progression of what you do at the start of each round on the left side of your player board. And so there's only a few things during the game that we have to look up. And then they do have, and we use this every game, and I use it multiple times in the solo game. Ocean board special rule clarifications are on one side of here. So, not all of them require it, but some do. And then scenario clarifications on the other side. So yeah, it's a pretty good rule book. I will say, this isn't one of them. It's smaller than the box, so I guess it's a decent size. I wish, actually, I like the size of the rule book. I don't like the ones that feel like they have to be the size of the box. They can have more pages, but I appreciate that you can have them on the table, the smaller ones, and so they're easier to reference during the game. So there's that. But that's a good rule book. MSRP and value. I don't know what this goes for. I'm going to guess it's probably around $60 or $70 because I'm pretty sure even in the retail game that these are wooden tokens. They may not be silk screened in the retail game. The tiles are pretty thick. They don't bend, and they're not going to warp or anything. So those are good quality. The specialist tiles are good quality. You've got the specialist tray. Like I said, I don't know how much more of the insert is specific to the deluxe mode or not. Cards are good quality. You don't have to shuffle them a bit, but they're good quality. They're going to stay in good shape for a while. The solo stuff, co-op stuff is pretty good. The stars are mine. I think for the gameplay value and how many times you can play it and still feel fresh, I think it's a good value. I mean, if you break it down into dollars per play, that's pretty good value. And I'm going to guess if you can get this less than $60, even just the retail version, because you're still going to have the same gameplay experience. Yeah, that would be a fantastic deal, I'm pretty sure. So that's what I would expect to pay. So component quality, tactile experience, replayability. I said all that. So that's it. That's my review. I love this game. It is fantastic. If you don't mind a really hard solo mode, if you're playing this solo, it is going to be quite challenging. There's ways you can mitigate that challenge, make it a little easier. Don't play with the setback cards. Maybe play with an extra goal. I don't know. You could modify it to make it a little bit easier. I think maybe start with an extra disc or something. I don't know. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that. The multiplayer game is really good if you're only going to play it multiplayer. Totally worth it. Definitely has replayability, with the modular board and the different missions and all of that. So yeah, so for the second time, I'm done with this review. I think that's it. Okay, well, if you have any questions at all, put them down in the comments. If you want to see any more playthroughs of any of the more missions, I'm not going to go back and do mission 1. But mission 3 or 4, as I get to those, let me know if you want to see those. I'd be happy to record them. I probably won't include a ton of biology in those ones other than my comments when I take out the tiles. I actually didn't include as much as I planned to in this one, but just didn't occur to me because I was having so much fun playing the game and thinking about the game. So there's that. Anyway, I guess I will see you in the next video. Bye!